To walk with that man, brother, is to walk with God. I got that from the Nation of Islam. He said the right thing with me. It just shook. It shook me.
Ask Allah for something big.
Peace, everybody. Can you hear me? Peace, peace. We'll be starting shortly. What has happened, is that what can happen will happen. And so, hold on one second. So my guest, as you see, our brother here, Brother Clive Muhammad, who is the student representative of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the Nation of Islam, from that beautiful island that we have, Jamaica, Kingston, Jamaica, which I have yet to actually visit, but I definitely would like to have the opportunity to actually visit that island. Our brother, they're actually having some weather conditions that we have, and the weather conditions that they are having has prevented him from having the actual services that will be needed to properly conduct this interview. So unfortunately, he can't make it. So we are either going to, one, play a previously aired interview, or this brother who I'm reaching out to right now might be available, and we may be able to get him to come on. So we just want you to stand by and we'll actually see. But for those who are tuned in, we thank you for okay. Well, it look like we have it. Let me see. We're going to have this. Let me see something right fast, my brothers and sisters. Because we're going to make it do what it does. But nonetheless, while we're still here, we're still going to go through our program. If you're familiar with this, as we talk about why we actually do this program. We can't get past this about why we actually do it, and we actually do this because it's important. And we do this because, as I said earlier, to get the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan out of this prison, especially when how important of a man that he is. And you see in this letter that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan actually wrote to George Bush Jr. And he talked about how he's in the prison. And I believe that these testimonies are helping to free the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan from this prison. I personally believe, brothers and sisters, that these testimonies are helping people inside the Nation of Islam and even outside the Nation of Islam to get a better understanding of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So testifying about him is not a lightweight manner. And we thank those who have been tuning in, and we thank those who continue to tune in, our followers. I see our brother Samuel Abdullah. Thank you, brothers. We got Sister Sharon. We got Sharon, Elias Guy. Yeah, we're gonna make it happen. We got a surprise. It's coming. Just stay tuned. We're still gonna get a good testimony, right? And we go forward when we look here. When we talk about the testimonies, I'm big on really being able to track our ability to measure our work. And we did these surveys, and I think it still stands true today that over 90% of the people who actually watch the testimonies talk about how they found it to be very beneficial, helped them as a believer, helped them in their personal faith, and helped them to get a better understanding of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And we're doing these testimonies not so like to make where people worship the minister, because the minister doesn't want that. But is that when the people can share different things that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has shared with them, it can help us to know how to handle certain situations that we come up and experience in our lives, right? So that's one of the purposes of this as well. And you see that people talk about how these testimonies have helped them in their understanding of the minister, and to never give up and keep striving for excellence, no matter how hard or how difficult it gets. And so take the time out to subscribe if you have not subscribed to our YouTube page and our Instagram page, so you can stay updated with what we are doing. And you can go back and watch many of the previous testimonies that we actually have. We have some big names that we were working on. We're working on, brothers and sisters, to continue to get people to continue to testify about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. All of our guests are big names, but we'll continue to keep working on some more. This right here, if you haven't had the opportunity to watch it, brothers and sisters, this is a very important resource to have, because it gives you have at your hand the exact words of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as it relates to the lies that have been told about our brother as it relates to the false charges of him being an anti-Semite. You got to have the opportunity. You must take the opportunity to watch these videos. And while people are arguing back and forth, you can just show them the videos, because most people have not heard the minister for themselves, for themselves. And then what we have here, they always like to say we killed Malcolm X, which is not the truth. We didn't kill Malcolm X at all. But you have the resources, and this is for believers as well, because sometimes we can think just because we're in the mosque that believers have seen these particular videos, but that doesn't mean that we have. And even if we have seen them, we need to go back and watch them again. Then we talk about continue to prayer. We definitely need it all to be lifted up in prayer. And with this COVID thing, we're not out the ballpark. And remember, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan say that it's going to get worse. So not only just for COVID, but if you just need a prayer for anything, you're going to go to a job interview or some goal that you're working on, you just want somebody to lift your name up in prayer, please send us your name and your information so we can actually add you to our prayer list. And here we also have our mosque fundraiser, where we're working to pay off our actual mosque. We would love your support, whatever you can give. In fact, take some time and text this link, this GoFundMe link, to some people and tell them to support us. We will greatly appreciate it. And we thank our big brother, Brother Jamil, who helped us to raise close to $10,000 so far. We still got a long way to go, but that still was able to help us to get closer to our actual goal. And next week, inshallah, if we have it, inshallah, next week, who we're going to have on our show is our sister, who's one of the she's a social media influencer, right? And if you've been following our sister, you see that she doesn't play, right? She doesn't play. So we're going to have her on next week. But now, brothers and sisters, we look how Allah blessed us. And it's interesting. I was just on our brother's show last night. And now we have our brother who is the Nation of Islam's DJ. If you're familiar, I wish I had a flyer. He was one of the people on my list that actually have on, but hey, Allah's the best know is actually happening now. So let me get this on so we can hear our testimony. And I'm quite sure he has it. And so let me close this out, my brother, and let's bring on the one and only. Let me move this. I'm working the one and only. Here we go. Wait up. Let me get this out. Here we go. Stop sharing. There he is, DJ Rockwell. Can you hear me? Can you hear
loud
me?
and clear, black man? Assalamu alaikum.
The people, look at the people. They're already saying yes. To see you got your fans. Your fans are here. Your fans are here right now, man. So we thank you. We thank you, man, for coming in. And I thank you, brother, too, for that show last night. And I thank you for our brother Kenrick, right? And
Yes,
I might
sir.
be reaching out to him, man, because after I heard something Brother Ishmael said and thinking about your show from last night, there's an idea that I'm formulating in my mind. So I'm going to see if we're actually going to have it. But nonetheless, man, I really enjoy your show. And as I said last night, man, I really thank you for the entertainment that you have provided during this COVID, man, with the music and teaching. Yo, because you listen, every time I love your flyers. I always share them and also share the music and ask people to actually go and support our brother and go and subscribe to his actual social media platforms. As a matter of fact, let me get that done right now. What's your platform, man? You tell me what do you want them to go and subscribe to?
Well, brother, first of all, let me just say alhamdulillah and thank you, brother. I came in like everybody else today. I wanted to hear from our brother from Jamaica.
So I know I wanted to hear from him too. They say Wata Guan, but you know things happen, man. They are in the something is going on, man. He said that with the weather that they were not able, you know, he wasn't able to do it. But we're definitely, inshallah, going to have our brother on. But we have you, man, and everybody has a testimony. Everybody has a testimony. And I think in regards to me saying it, I think it's going to prove it as we have this interview right now, that everybody has a testimony to share. And every believer, if you've accepted Islam. So let me ask you this, my brother DJ Rockwell.
Yes, sir.
Tell me, like, just what was your life like before Islam? So don't start talking about how you accepted it. We're going to get to that. Just who were you before Islam? What was your life like, man?
In a word, sleepless.
Mm-hmm.
I was a club DJ.
Mm-hmm.
I was the guy that was setting up at the club at midnight and played until 3 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I was the guy that was hanging out on the street corners, passing out mixtapes, passing out flyers, coming to my jam. I was the guy that was, that stayed out all night and sneaking past my mother to get back in the house before she noticed, damn, boy, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. You know, I was that guy. So, man, I thank Allah for delivering your little brother or being in the process of being delivered, brother.
Now,
so, yeah, I was that guy. The late night, man, we didn't sleep
at all.
We kept it rolling.
So last night, I didn't get a chance to ask, but I know the brother is from St. Louis, and are you originally from St. Louis as well?
Yes, sir. Born and raised.
Wow. And how was it? Are you from East Boogie or just from the other part of St. Louis? Like, how was that growing up in St. Louis?
Oh, brother. Just for those of your viewers who may not have ever visited St. Louis is divided by a river. And on, of course, the east side of the river is, of course, East St. Louis. And then there's the main city. And growing up in St. Louis, there was always this beef between East Side and the main side. They called us Jimmies, and which I still don't know why they got that from. And we called them just the East Side Hood Rats because East St. Louis was just historically poverty-stricken city. To this day, it remains such. But it was the most violent part of the city. You had to be from off the east side for the sun to come down unless you was connected. So I used to DJ in East St. Louis on State Street, and it was something that happened every night. It was a shooting, somebody got beat down, somebody got stabbed. So it eventually just got so bad we had to stop playing on that side of town.
Wow.
So St. Louis was, I guess, like any other hood in this country. It had some parts where it was dangerously violent and other parts where it was a great middle-class upbringing. So in my area where I grew up on the main side, in a small subdivision called Baden. Baden is what I guess what you might call a parish. And Baden was at that time considered middle-class upbringing.
Now, I don't know if you got a little, I don't know if that's some lint on your face or a little bump, you see it?
I don't.
So you're on your right side, you're right. I guess it's maybe a little razor bump, but we good though. So, so let me ask you this. How did you start getting involved in just hip hop music, DJing? Was it hip hop music first, or was it like Dr. Dre, World Class Wrecking Crew? Then you got into hip hop. Like, how did that happen?
Oh, it was a part of my DNA since as far as I can remember. I literally grew up how some people slept with a pillow. I slept on the radio.
Wow.
My father, when I was at least 12 or so, maybe even 11, I'll never forget it, bought me my first boom box.
Wow.
It was that little boom box with that little half circle speaker and the cassette deck and the buttons on top.
Yeah.
I lived and died by my radio with my cassette deck. And I would sit by the radio every night waiting for my jam to come on so I can hit record. So I was waiting for the Fat Boys to come on. I was waiting for Run DMC to come on. I was waiting for Grandmaster Flash to come on, and I would make my tapes that way. And then I would take them to school and be like, yo, I got what you don't got. You know, it was always competitive nature. So I literally was weaned since 11 years old on hip hop. In 1984 was I always mark this particular moment in 1984 is the moment that I fell in love with hip hop. In St. Louis, they used to have an annual event called it was called Break 84. And at that time, this was around the time the Fresh Fest was popping all over the country. And artists like Houdini, LL, the Fat Boys would go on tour called the Fresh Fest. And that particular year stopped through St. Louis. And instead of a traditional like venue, it was at a mall, and they had it in a parking lot of a mall. So it was free for us. Here I was 12 years old or so, 11 years old or so. And I stood at the front row mesmerized because they brought on tour with them that year, the New York City Breakers. And from that moment forward, I knew what I wanted to do the rest of my life. Wow.
Who was your first hip hop? Do you remember your first hip hop concert that you attended? And what artist was it?
I never forget it. It was Run DMC.
Wow.
And the year was 1987. Funny story goes along with this particular event. In fact, just last month, I was hanging out with DMC. Wow. And I told him the story I'm about to tell you. I was at least 13 years old. And Run DMC is on their way to play in St. Louis. First major concert for me. All of my friends were older. And they was trying to convince my mother to let me go to see Run DMC. On that show was the Fat Boys. On that show was Houdini. If I'm correct, LL was also an opening act at that time. At that time, LL was on album like maybe album number 2. This was during, matter of fact, it was their Raising Hell tour. I'll never forget it. So that meant it was 1986. My partner convinced my mother to let him be my caretaker at this show. So she gave me the money to get the ticket, and the idea was to buy the ticket at the gate. We take the bus, get to the Kiel Auditorium. That was the big venue at the time. And there's a mob at the gate trying to get in to see the show. They start sound check, and it was from where we were standing. We can hear it. The mob grew into a riot. So at that time, it was like this little fence chain that would come down over the door of the to let people into the arena. The people on the gate like this until the gate smashed down. They mobbed through the turnstile. Me and my partner get separated. So here I am. I had my money to get into the show. Didn't need that. I get in free. But the problem is I'm 11 years old at a venue with at least 20,000 people, and I'm by myself. I found my way to the floor. I'm in the main floor, like I guess what they might call today the mosh pit. I don't know what they call it today.
Yeah, the floor.
I'm in the floor. Dead center. And I guess what I always remember about this story is because I never was afraid. During the show, I never worried about how I'm gonna get home. Who gonna come and get me? I had such a ball that night. I had such a good time as I watched Houdini go through the classic records. Freaks Come Out at Night, I'm a Hoe, Big Mouth, and then to see Run DMC come on the stage and hit us with the classic hits, My Adidas, Walk This Way, King of Rock. I'm 11. And it would just so happen as I was coming out and I finally started thinking, damn, how am I gonna get to the house? Somebody walked by and knew and gave me a ride to the house.
Wow. So what happened to what did the brother who you came there with, who was supposed to be responsible, what happened when he saw you the next time?
We played like it never happened because I knew had we both told my mother what would happen, she was gonna kill both of us.
So you just the person that you knew, they just dropped you off, you just went inside and told Mom we had a good time.
And that was that.
Yo, I think, I wonder if that was my fault, because I remember attending a concert where it was them, because concerts were big at that time, man. And I remember that. So that's interesting. So now, like, when did you first hear the teachings of the Mozambique Elijah Muhammad?
Through hip hop records, like most of us in my generation.
Wow.
We were hearing people like Big Daddy Kane, Modem and Brigham and hold up the peace sign, Assalamu Alaikum.
Yeah.
And hear Chuck D say, Farrakhan's a prophet that we think you ought to listen to. Yeah. What he can say to you, what you want to do, follow for now. Yeah, I'm at this point a senior in high school trying to figure out what or who is a Farrakhan. Mm-hmm. So that was my exposure to the minister.
Wow. And after hearing that, man, it's sounding, your journey is sounding so similar to mine. So then after hearing that, then what happened next?
The year is now 1993. 1994. No, 93. My cousin's girlfriend approached me and says, yo, I got tickets to hear Farrakhan. So I'm like, there's that name again, Farrakhan. Okay, this is my opportunity to go see what this man is about. Mm-hmm. A decade ago, I began writing a book about this specific experience, and I never released that book. And maybe this is God's message to say I should tell that story. Yeah. I detailed what it was like being 18, 19 years old, going into that same auditorium, the Kiel Auditorium.
Wow.
Packed just like it was that same night for Run DMC, to hear a man not sing a song, not play an instrument, but speak. I remembered people carrying equipment to record what he was going to say. I remember the soldiers moving fast and escorting us this way and escorting us that way. The sister I came with, they escorted her one way and me another way. What's this? And I found myself in this venue, and I'll never forget when the minister walked out, and at this time, he was on the Stop the Killing tour. He walked out and he was dressed in all white. The crowd went off like Marvin Gaye walked in the room. And I'll never forget, and I wrote these words in the book, how does everybody heard this man except me? How does everybody know this man? And as I heard the lecture that he proceeded to teach that day, of course, as I talked about coming from St. Louis, which was like the Wild Wild West at that time, it applied heavily in my life specifically. So I walked out of there, and at this point again, I'm like 19 or so. And it was the seed that would stay until after the Million Man March.
So that seed stayed in your mind, and then the Million Man March actually began to walk. So did you attend the Million Man March?
Yes, sir.
How was that experience from deciding to go to just the bonding that I would imagine that took place on your way there, and just to be in the Million Man, just to go there and experience it?
I'm sorry, repeat the question, brother.
Like, how was it when you made the decision to say, hey, I'm going to the Million Man March? Can you talk about that and talk about just the journey? Because when I talk to people about the Million Man March, they also talk about just the camaraderie they experienced on the way there, and including how they felt when they were actually there. So it's like a 3-part question.
Yep. Got you. I'll start with the first part, the how it even occurred that I ended up on the bus. The woman I was dating at that time, she was a law student, and she was one of them super black, pro-black sisters.
Yeah.
And me, again, I was the wild stay out every night, DJ and the club guy, And she was like, yo, have you heard about the Million Man March? Okay, nah, what about it? The minister called, and there it was, the minister's name again.
Wow.
Farrakhan called him, Mimi, are you going? I was like, I hadn't planned on it. What you mean you hadn't planned on it? So that sister moved heaven and earth to make sure that the person that she was involved with was going to be there.
Wow.
And of course, at that time, then we started hearing the drum beat on the street. We heard in the press, heard on the radio, then the conversation in the barbershops, Million Man March, Million Man March, Million Man March. And sure enough, I found myself on the bus. Wow. And it was that journey from getting on the bus the night before, October the 15th, and landing on the mall, sunrise, October the 16th, is what changed my life forever.
Wow.
And that sister at that point has now been my wife for the last 20 years.
What? Yo, so wow. So she ended up, so what do you remember about that actual day? You know what I'm saying? Just being there.
In fact, on my podcast, I just covered this subject in so many details, and it brought back so many memories. In fact, on my show that particular day, last weekend, I revealed the fact that it's taken me 25 years to just sit down and put to pen what I remember and put on paper what I remember. It was so overwhelming of an event, bruh, that you felt it more than lived it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Because you was caught up in the moment.
And in fact, so here I was, I think in 1995, I was 21, if I'm correct. So 21, 22. So here I am on the mall. I didn't even know what to expect. And to be quite frank with you, I really wasn't, I didn't take that serious. I wanted to be a part of an event because I wanted to support, black men. I wanted to support a movement. So I was going to lend my person to that event. I had no idea that I was walking into history. So we get there, but more importantly was the journey of the highway. And this is what I remember the most. All the bus ride and talking with some of the brothers and them not being very, very chatty. Because at that time, at least coming from here, there was a little, standoffishness, But as the road went on through the night, brothers started talking about what they expected to see. Would 1 million men actually show up? What was the minister going to say? But beyond all of that, Brother Willie, was as we went through each city on our way up the highway towards DC, was the radio stations that we clued into on every city we went through. And on every station that we passed by, they were talking about the march.
Wow.
And what I remember the most about some of those broadcasts was the opposition. I'll never forget the pastors. And although the minister had Reverend Willie Wilson and many other Christian pastors that stood with him on the mall that day and helped support him from beginning to end, on the radio, I heard this quote: "If Jesus ain't in it, neither should you be."
Wow. Somebody took a radio ad out.
And they were emphatic about keeping people away from the march. And I honestly think in hindsight, that's probably what fueled more people to go, because we were being told by so-called, leadership to stay away from the mall, stay away from Farrakhan, stay away from the 1 Million Man March. So here I am at 21, 22, like, what is it about this man? What is it? Wow. What did he do? Why is it that everybody feels some kind of way, either passionately for or passionately against? There's you can't be this way or that way about Farrakhan.
Criteria, huh?
How about it? So, and once I got there, I found out why.
Wow.
And when the sun rose and you could actually see human beings as far as the eye could see, and you saw this sea of humanity, but above and beyond all was the spirit of love and security. And as I did my show last week, that was one of the thoughts I wrote down, was I felt secure. I didn't feel like nobody was going to hit me over the head with anything. Nobody was going to stab me in the back. Nobody was going to pick my pocket. I was in a sea of people to whom I belonged. I felt like I belonged there.
Wow.
And to see men crying tears, hugging strangers, and the spirit of camaraderie and brotherhood. So I would tell anybody to this day, we must never let the spirit of the 1 Million Man March die.
Wow. And you said that you first heard the message of the album, the name of the minister from rap. And then you said it was after. So what was it about the 1 Million Man March that made you say, you know something, I'm ready to go full-fledged Nation of Islam?
The spirit. Here's another confession. Here's just an actual fact. I was so overwhelmed with the surroundings of what I experienced. I remembered very little of what the Honorable Louis Farrakhan said until years later.
Wow.
Until I had to go back and re-listen to what he actually said that day.
Wow.
It was Allah's hand over that mass of men that caused such a spirit of love and brotherhood. And what I remember, he said, go home. This is what I did remember. Go home. You don't necessarily have to join me. Join an organization, join a church, do something, go back and change where you live. And after that, I was like, yes, sir. But what swayed me to want to find the mosque, and this was just a matter of sheer Allah being hands on it. I'll never forget the green wave. At that time, Brother Minister Jamil Muhammad had all of the men on that mall pick up $1 and wave it above their head. So as we looked up at the monitors, all we could see was that sea of men turn to these green pieces of paper. It was an incredible sight to behold. And here's Allah. So once I come back to Atlanta and I decide I need to go see this, what this is all about, because the spirit moved me, and watching the military move, I was like, I'm looking for that. And as soon as I walk into the door of Muhammad Mosque team, first person I see, Brother Jamil.
Wow.
You're the guy that was at the Million Man Mosque doing the Greenway.
And he was the minister. He was the minister in Atlanta that time, probably, right?
Absolutely.
Wow. So how was that experience? Your first time going to the mosque?
The sister that I was dating at the time, actually, she was a guest before me.
Wow.
And one day I'm whipping up and I'm dropping her off, and she was like probably maybe a first timer, maybe 1 or 2 visits before I was. She's like, "Yo, you need to hear this brother cat. This is just Jamil, brother. And you got to hear this man Rockman. Oh my God, you got to hear Minister Rockman." And I'll never forget this. One particular day after I was going to pick her up, there was a brother standing on the door. That brother's name is Brother George Muhammad. Still alive, still around, still serving to this day. Everybody in Atlanta know Brother George. He was on post that day. This is 1990, late 90s, excuse me, this is now 1996. So he's on the post at the front door, standing outside, looking at me pull up. I pull up on him, roll down the window and ask, "What time y'all let out?" So he look at me and he say, "Bro, how come you ain't in here?" So how come you ain't in here with us? Talking about when we let out. So the first FOI I ever met and had an actual exchange with was Brother George Muhammad.
Wow.
And so sure enough, after that exchange and my then girlfriend saying, "Yo, come on, you gotta hear this Brother Jamil, he wilding out." So okay. And I come in, I heard it one time. It was on a Wednesday. I had long dreadlocks down my back. Heard Brother Jamil on a Wednesday night study group. This is it. And that was that was the spring of '96. I processed through the summer and got my ex in the fall of '96, September of 1996.
Praise be to Allah. Wow. And what do you remember? You mentioned Rockman. What do you remember about the Rock, man, when you were there coming up?
Oh, I got Rockman stories for
give us some of the funny Rockman stories. A lot of people have them.
Wow, where to start? What era to start from?
Whatever you got, man, because we gotta get those stories. We gotta get those stories. We gotta get them, man. So whatever you want to share it.
Here's one that I remember that just happens on the top of my mind. Wow. Brother Rockman, the thing that he used to do without fail every day, I'm kind of perspiring in here. One thing he used to do without fail every day is be at the mosque, seated at the front desk in the lobby. That was his desk, that was his spot in the lobby. Over that chair was a photo of him. So if you ever go to Atlanta, when you walk in the door, the first thing you're going to see is that front welcome desk and a big photo in a picture of Minister Rockman when he was young. And I always respect Brother Minister Abdul Sharif Muhammad for honoring Rock.
Yes, sir.
A big photo of him in the lobby.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
When brother that was his post. He didn't miss no mosque meetings. He was there on Sunday mosque meeting, Wednesday, Monday FY. And this was like during even when his health was ailing. He didn't miss. And sons would pick him up and drop him off. And he was there like for counsel, there for whatever you want to talk about. And one particular day, This was an off day. And, you know, at Atlanta, we have MUI, Atlanta MUI.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never, ever forget this. I pulled up there. I forget what business I was there to conduct. But sure enough, I was there. And all the students of MUI were gathered around the Rock.
Mm.
And he was telling them stories about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Matter of fact, that photo is I think that's the exact photo in the lobby.
Wow.
That photo is the one that's encased. And they stood there at rapt attention. And I walked in, I was like, how does this man, how did he command their attention? Talking about a religious figure. When I was the age, I couldn't, you know, but that's a testament to two things. What this man means to the children and how much they all adored him, and the raising of the Muslim children. I'll never forget that. And as they all would now say, okay, leave Brother Rockman alone, leave him alone. And he was like, no, let them stay alone if they won't. So as they all were ushering back to their class, I wish they had a camera to record this. The last little girl, she couldn't have been no more than 3 feet off the ground. She turned around and saluted him and said, we love you, Rockman. And Rock just smiled and said, I love you back, baby.
The great Rock, man. Wow, so many stories. You got another one? You got another story in there?
Oh my God.
Yeah, tell me, man. I'm telling you, we trying to get him.
Oh my God. The best stories was catching Rockman in FY class. So probably most I can't tell here.
Yeah.
But it was the quotes. And I'll never forget back in 97, me and my brother joined the ranks together, Brother David C. Muhammad. And me and Dave couldn't wait for FY class for 3 reasons. Particularly for 3 people. We couldn't wait to hear what Captain Curtis was going to say. We couldn't wait to hear what then later, Captain Sterling was going to say. Anybody from the East Coast know Captain Sterling, may Allah be pleased with him. And last but not least, we could not wait what Rockman was going to say. So we used to show up in FOI class and because we couldn't wait to hear what he was going to say. And one quote, again, not to divulge class, but one quote that I'll never forget that stuck with me from then to now. And if Dave is watching, he'll bear witness. Rock would say, we don't hate the devil enough.
I've heard him say that. I've heard him say that, Jack.
We don't hate the devil enough. So,
I've heard him say
that. People think we teach hate. This is hate teaching.
I remember him saying that. Now you mentioned another great of our nation and one of the trendsetters and men makers, Brother Captain Curtis. He was the regional captain. Then can you talk about the impact that he had on your life?
How much time you got?
Hey man, let's go. We got to get these stories, man.
Dear brother, I will forever and ever and ever thank Allah for Captain Curtis Muhammad. We used to say, if you survived the training of Captain Curtis, you was meant to be in the nation. You didn't find a more hard man, a more compassionate man, at times a more funny man than Captain Curtis. And we realize, you ask, how can one person be all of those things? At that time, most of the people that was in my processing class were in our early 20s. Excuse me, in our early 20s. And of course, I can't speak to what kind of background that we all came from. I just know what kind of background I came from at the time. But I'm sure it's safe to say that most of us come from maybe a single family home where our mother was watching us and our mother was responsible for us, and our mother reared and raised us. And then to go through our high school lives and whatever lives we went through, to then meet a man like Captain Curtis, where there was no such thing as an excuse. I learned at the age of 22, 23, that excuses, like you said, like, excuses shall not exist. Excuse me, another brother said that to me yesterday. Excuses, not that they won't happen, but you better not let them exist. You cannot, he trained us in such a way there that failure was not an option. If you get an assignment, you carried it out. If you get an assignment, not only did you carry it out, you report back that the assignment is done. So coming from the life I came from, which was music and entertainment and hanging out all night, you might imagine that took a little longer for me to adjust to than others. So here I was, a little like, okay, Vaughn, I signed up for this. This is what I signed up for. This is what I'm here for. And Curtis had a way to I want to use this word, and I want y'all to understand it, to destroy you and rebuild you. Let me explain what I mean by that. Because if you came with all that world and outside spirit and behavior, oh no, that didn't exist under his leadership. He had a way, and him and Brother Jamil was one of the best 1-2 punches I'd ever seen. Jamil with the word, him with the training. Jamil with the word, him with the training. You came to the class, bam! He did what captains were supposed to do, make men. You can't be a man and make excuses at the same time. And that, I thank Brother Captain Curtis for installing that thing in us the most.
Wow, and we're going to make sure, brother, that he gets an opportunity to see that clip, because it's important that those who have helped to lay the foundation know the impact that they've had on people's lives, especially the positive impact. So thank you for that. When we
let me share a quick story on that.
Go ahead. I'm about these stories, brother.
This was 2 Savings Days ago. I am about to go DJ at a Savings Day concert. No, we were in Detroit, and I'm about to play at the Detroit public social event. And I'm trying to hurry up and get the sound check. And I see Captain Curtis in the corner of my eye. As always, he got a bunch of brothers around him. He talking, dealing, telling stories, doing what he do. And I'm walking because I'm late to sound check. And I'm hearing this voice, Brother Vaugh, come here. I turn around, it's Captain Curtis. Come over here. Yeah, I want to run to him. Yes, sir. And he says these words I never forget. See him right here? This is one of my soldiers. I trained him. And he one of the staunchest soldiers in Atlanta. Brother, I'm proud of you. Go on. Yes, sir. and I went on about my business. I never forget that. So I felt honored that he even remembered me, number one. But man, I got so many Captain Curtis stories, so many Sterling stories.
Give me one more, because I heard a story one time, and there's a brother, he used to be the secretary in our city some years ago. And he said how he came into Islam. He had a breakup with his girlfriend at that time. He was distraught. He felt like the world was going to end. You know how it is with those breakups. And he happened to just end up pulling up outside of what he didn't realize was the mosque, right?
Right.
FOI class had just ended. He didn't know it was FOI class, but the meeting had just ended. And he said he was just all distraught, all like just, oh, my girlfriend. And Captain Curtis was like, basically, I can't remember exactly what he told him, but he basically told him, stop all that damn crying.
Yep.
You know, like he talked to him just like so straight. And he said, like, some of the other brothers was like, dang, Cap, man, that was, you know, like, yo, man, why did you talk to him like that, man? You might, you know, we could have had a soldier. You might have hurt his feelings, et cetera, et cetera. And Captain Curtis was like, he told him, according to what the brother told me, he was like, yo, no, I talked to him that way because it's going to help him. And I wish I could have brother to come and tell a story. But nonetheless, Captain Curtis's strong words to him caused him to get back, get together, and he eventually joined the nation. And he talks about how that what Captain Curtis did for him was a life changer. And for those who are watching, this is Brother Captain Curtis you see in the back with this blue, he has the blue uniform on. So give us one more Captain Curtis story, my brother.
Oh, brother, absolutely. I'm gonna step off camera for a half a second, turn on this fan. 1 second.
Yeah, go ahead. And so for those people who are watching, most of you all who are in the Nation of Islam, y'all know our brother, he's one of them, Captain Curtis, Captain Dennis. If you all have any stories or you know, go ahead and type your responses in the chat room, you know, anything that you have. And regarding, you know, what your thoughts are about the interview as well. Our brother was not the interviewee that we had scheduled, but I'm thankful for him being able to step up and come on the witness stand. And I'm enjoying hearing his actual testimony, because if we hear our testimony, we'll find out that many of us have come for the most part from like the same similar path. So he's back, and I guess he has that Captain Curtis story. Let's go.
Here's one of the most beautiful things that I remember about Brother Captain Curtis circa 1996, 1997. I was not one of his lieutenants, but for whatever reason, he allowed me to partake with some of the training that he gave them.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that he would do, and here's what anybody from Atlanta will tell you that was around in 1996, 7, that if you went to FOI class, be prepared to stay there for a while. We had what we call marathon FOI classes. You remember how people at the church, and they had a tip out like this here?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'll never forget them, because those were the years that formed us. That really like molten lava that shaped us. Those classes under his watch.
Mm.
Now, if you were there and you managed to get through the whole FOI night, he would say, "Okay, all y'all come on. Where we going? I'm taking y'all to get some to eat."
Wow.
And it would be his lieutenants. Now, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. And downtown was a hotel that stayed open late. And of course, we suited and booted. And he had a relationship with these people in this hotel restaurant. Very nice, swank place. So here I am with Captain Curtis. I'm a brand new register practically. And he would pull up, and I would be in the car behind him, you know, and he would say, "Come on, everybody, get out." And we will walk, sharp, shoes shine, white shirts, bow ties, crisp, haircut, through the lobby. And when he said, "Don't worry about the cars, they got it." Okay, we got props like that. And we would get to the front door of the restaurant. They knew who he was when they saw him coming up. "Oh, Brother Curtis, or Captain Curtis." Matter of fact, everybody called him Captain. No matter where we went in the city,
Wow.
that was Captain. We took right to your seat, and everybody with him, come on with him. And we would sit down at this restaurant, and he taught us, we all young soldiers, 20, 21, 22, 23, how to properly dine, how to take your napkin and fold it across your lap, what spoon went where, what fork was this. And it was now it's 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, and we having an after FOI class on how to be civilized, how to not slurp your soup, on how to take your wife out for dinner. You bring her to a place like this. You sit down and you pull out her chair. It was those classes and that everybody didn't get, just as lieutenant staff. And I was just lucky to be there most of the time. So I'll never forget what I would call the after classes with Cap Curtis.
The after class. And man, you just by you talking about Captain Curtis, you just gave me an idea, man. I'm gonna have a theme, but we're gonna get some of these legendary captains. We've had brother Captain Emeritus, brother Captain Dennis Muhammad. So we definitely have to get Captain Curtis. Have you ever had the opportunity to physically meet the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan yet?
On 2 occasions, I've had the opportunity to shake his hand, but I never had the opportunity to say, Brother Minister, my name is Brother Vaugh Muhammad. It is an honor. I never had that degree of dialogue. It was always brief and very, very fast. I have 2 memories, in fact, that I recall that I never forget.
Go ahead.
One, he was in Atlanta. I was standing post outside his door at a hotel downtown Atlanta. And the E-team came to whisk him away to his appointment. And of course, I snapped to attention the way we're trained to do. And for whatever reason, at that particular moment, he walked by me fast as he always is, moving, brisk and quick moving. But for whatever reason, he stopped, turned around, looked at me, smiled, and made a beeline to come right back to me to shake my hand and said, thank you. I was blown that he stopped his movement to turn around and shake my hand and say, thank you, and went to his appointment. That was time number 1.
Wow.
Fast forward years later, we were, that very time I was telling you about the concert in Detroit, the social event I was DJing.
Yeah.
This particular night was historic because the Honorable Louis Farrakhan showed up after teaching a 3-hour lecture at Savior's Day and decided, and this was a youth social that I was DJing. The room was packed with people from at least age 18 to 25. So I'm rocking the crowd, and an E-team member comes up to me. I forget which one it was at the time. It might have been Brother Don. And he says, shh, the minister might be coming through here. I heard him, but I didn't hear him. So I'm still doing my thing. I'm working the wheels, doing what I do. And we all know what it looks like when the minister moves. From where the DJ turntables are sitting, I see the double doors fling open, and you see the point man, you see Don, you see, D9, you start seeing the men come through. And sure enough, behind them was the Honorable Louis Farrakhan in a wheelchair being pushed into the youth party. And he walked right up, he got up out of his chair, because I'm like right just backstage. Walks up to me, smiles again, and I pass him the microphone. And before he takes the microphone, I said, everybody, we have a surprise guest. I stopped the music. They all turned around, looked at me and said, who? The Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan. He walks up on stage and the crowd loses it. It's an unbelievable moment. I get my video camera, my phone, and I'm taping it from the back. And I think I still got that video somewhere. And what he goes on to tell them, what he goes on to tell them is, and these were his exact words, I'll never forget. I heard y'all was down here having a party. I just came to party with you.
Wow.
After teaching a 3-hour lecture, a 3-hour Savior's Day lecture, he comes to the youth event. I thought it was peculiar that the youth event was scheduled for a Sunday after the main lecture. That never happens.
I know, because people going home.
But yet this particular night, it was packed. They was jam-packed up in there. And he got on the microphone, center stage, and he started talking to the youth. I'm glad you're here. I want y'all to have fun. I want y'all to dance and party. But when you go back home, Don't be afraid to take the hard subjects. Don't be afraid to tackle the subjects like math and science. And he said a few more inspiring words to youth about education. And he turned around and looked at me and said, all right, DJ, crank it up.
Now, in many people, this thing we talk about testimony, and people don't have to have had the actual encounter of meeting the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, but his spirit is just so vast and it touches people. If it's on a videotape, a CD, or whatever it is, on a tweet or IG post, it still touches people, and people experience the divine qualities that are in him. If you had the opportunity, if you were asked to testify about before the world about 3 qualities about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, what would be those 3 qualities and why?
Wow, profound question.
Praise be to Allah.
Profound question. I want to say the first thought that comes to my mind. The first thought that comes to my mind is humble. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan and my family and I were just having this conversation the other day about how he always manages to keep the posture of a student. No matter what the situation is, he always manages to let you know that even though that I am the person in the scripture, I am the person, I am that fulfillment. And he doesn't necessarily put that in such language, but we understand for those who are with him. But he still maintains a humble stance. I'll never forget, and here's the case in point. One day he's teaching from Mariam, and somebody asked, this was a question and answer situation, and someone asked him whether or not we believed in I believe it's pronounced in vitro fertilization. Am I saying that word right?
Yeah.
And the minister looked around. I don't know. He said, I don't know what that is.
I remember that.
He said, okay, I'm gonna get back to you on that because I don't know what that is about. And sure enough, a few Sundays or so later, I don't know how long it passed, he came back and gave a full report on what he went back to study about that concept. And I was like, wow, what a humble man. What a humble man. Wow. Thing number 2, character. Anybody who is a student of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan will have to bear witness to how much emphasis he places on having good character / integrity. I notice as I look at my life and some of the things I've struggled with, and trying to walk like this man, next to this man, with this man, and trying to say that I'm a student of this man. You can never say such if you are not a man of integrity, a man of character. You are not who you are when the people are looking at you, when you're in front of the camera. You are not who you are in front of the public. You are who you really are when nobody's watching. When you're faced with, should I do this or should I do that? Should I go against what I've been taught to do, or should I follow what I know is right to do, even though nobody's watching, or so you think? We're always being watched by Allah. And I can think about in my own life when I didn't choose right. I can think about in my own experience and journey. Well, man, I went left when I should have went right. I should have chose this when I didn't exhibit proper character and integrity, like my teacher had taught me. And you never forget how bad you feel if you do something that's out of character and you think about, man, I let the minister down.
Mm-hmm.
You never want to have that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You never want to have that feeling. Man, I let the teacher down.
Mm-hmm.
I let myself down. I let Allah down. So that's thing number 2 is trying to emulate and trying to build character. The last thing is fearlessness.
Very good, man.
Fearlessness. I don't know how many times I've said it to others, but I'll say it again on the I Have a Testimony podcast. Is one of my favorite lectures of all time is Fear, Faith, and Truth.
Mm.
And I listen to it at least once a year. But in addition to that, I recently studied the interview the Honorable Louis Farrakhan gave to Pastor Jamal Bryant on the Word Network 5 years ago.
Mm.
This was when the Honorable Louis Farrakhan was making steam towards 10-10-15.
Mm-hmm.
And he was invited to be a guest on the Word Network. And of course, as you might imagine, all kind of controversy followed from the Christian world. And they put Reverend Bryant through it. And what he said, and in fact, I recently reposted that interview because I watched it again. And it was as if he was speaking to today, down to the detail it applied to right now. The police brutality, the politics, and our need for separation. All there. He's talking to the Christians in the Christian network. And in it, you could see in his face that this ain't the time for punks. And he talked about the potential, what would happen if violence erupted? What if they came at us in DC at 10-10-15? He said, sometimes it's time to die. And it's about what you're going to die for. And I said, this man is not afraid of nothing. This man, if I could have this much of his fearlessness, I would have accomplished something. And I wrote on my Facebook post, you can't be no punk and be a follower of Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Praise be to Allah. And that's enters humility, character, and fearlessness. And you are, like with the hip hop, with the music, and you understand the impact that music has on people. You understand the impact that hip hop artists have on people. From your perspective as being an expert, I'll consider you like you're an expert in the hip hop field, and you're a DJ. You understand how to put music on to move people. And what impact would you say? What would you say is the impact of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on hip hop in general?
Wow, great question. The minister represents hip hop's last chance. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Hip hop, and man, I got a theory.
Go ahead.
If you don't mind, I'm gonna share this theory with you. There is a unique connection between the rise of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan from 77 to now and hip hop's rise. Obviously, the minister raised in the East Coast area, Bronx, Boston, and the birth of hip hop coming from that same tri-state area. You had Africa Bambaataa, you had the Black Spades, you had gang culture, and you have now, at the same time, the rebuilding of the Nation of Islam. It was impossible that the two would not meet. So I have a theory that it's inevitable that hip hop will be a conduit for the teachings of the Honorable Minister, of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his top student. So realizing that, I started what I call the NOI Hip Hop Network. I coined the phrase #NOI Hip Hop. And what it is basically a network of registered Muslims who are performing artists, singers, songwriters, DJs, rappers, anybody that has a talent. My goal was to try to form some sort of network like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us to do. If you find like-minded people and put them together. So all of us who have been impacted by the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, why aren't we united? Why aren't we taking our talents and our resources and putting them together to help the minister? So several years ago, I started a Facebook group called the NOI Hip Hop Network. And now we have hundreds of members of that group. And you may have seen it floating around Facebook. One Savior's Day, we all got together and took a group picture. And I put out the call, and at least 40 people came for a group photo.
Wow, man, that's something since you mentioned the hip hop artists in the Nation of Islam, what could we, and you're in Atlanta right now. I remember coming to Atlanta and going to eat at the Hebrew Israelites restaurant, and it appeared like they've taken like the musical artists in their community, and they have them where they, like they've created, like, to me, in their own little musical industry. Like, what can we do as a nation from your perspective where we can create our own internally, where we have our station where we listen to our artists, and website, a streaming website where we listen to their music? What can we do?
That's always been a big conversation among us in the chat rooms and in the community is what should we do? What can we do? And this has been my thought on that. I got a brother who met with the minister one day. And he came back and shared with me his experience. He is from the business community here in Atlanta. And he told me his experience of going to convey. His name is Delzino. Delzino Wilson Debriano. People may have heard of him. And I'll never forget this story he told me. He said, I was able to get an audience with the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. And my idea was to go and tell him about the Black business network I'm making that will encourage people to buy and sell with one another. And I wanted to see if I can get his endorsement, he told me. So I was able to get in the audience with him, and I sat with him, and he listened to me, and he smiled at me, and he heard me out. And after I was finished with my presentation, I looked at the minister, and this is all him talking. And I waited for him to say what, feedback on what I heard and what he said. He said, brother, my job is to deliver the word and inspire you to go and do business and help our people. And after I heard that, I said, that seems to be true for us. And because there's always been, wow, how come the nation doesn't have anything that supports its artists as, per se, or any entity or platform as such? And it took me a while to come to this conclusion. That's not what the nation is for. That's for us to do. Hence the NOI Hip Hop Network. So the way that I see it is up to us to develop a platform, develop some sort of distribution method, some sort of avenue that can get our music to the world.
Because it's like, man, would it be something difficult? Like sometimes I envision if we just had a website where all of our artists can upload their stuff and people can just go there and, either, I don't know, the streaming, I know that's a lot and they'll cost us, but people could just go there and purchase it online and download it or however they wanted to do it. Simple steps, man.
And it's up to us to build it. And we have the technology, we have the know-how. In the NOI Hip Hop Network, we have the people who have the experience. If we fail to do it, It's on us.
It's on us. And that is something. And as we get ready to close, and I thank you, man, for, I know this is a last minute, but I really appreciate it. Allah's the best knower, because you shared some your testimony is beautiful. What you shared about the Rockman. I love the fact that we got that on recording, and even what you said about Brother Captain Curtis, man, because it's important for them to know that their work was not in vain, that they positively impacted people. Was there anything that you want to share that you didn't get the opportunity to share? And if so, you can share it now.
Oh, wow, brother. First of all, again, I did not wake up this morning knowing.
And I got one more question for you too, but go ahead, go.
Okay, again, I didn't wake up this morning knowing that I'd be sitting with Brother Willie Muhammad on I Have a Testimony. And you know how sometimes when you know something is coming, you kind of prepare your thoughts in advance for it. So everything that I'm giving you now is just off the cuff, off the, things that I moved to say. Mm-hmm. I'd say this for those of you, and this was a personal experience I had in the nation. Mm-hmm. When I came in the nation, again, I was in the entertainment business. I was a DJ. I was a club DJ. Mm-hmm. I was a regional tour DJ. A former radio personality in St. Louis. I walked away from all of the above. Wow. I stopped cold. And you know why? Because I thought I couldn't do this and do that. There was no such thing as a Muslim that didn't, that was a rapper or in the hip hop industry, or so I thought. We didn't do that. You had to leave that life behind. Until this happened. Minister Jamil was in a barbershop getting his hair cut. And I went to ask him. And I hadn't done DJing now for at least a year. Brother Minister, I want to, do something creative, and maybe I can bring people through the teachings. Can I do an event, you think? And bring some rappers in, and he looked at me and said, "Oh, you don't need permission to do good. You don't need my permission to do what's right if it's going to help the minister. Use every talent you got to bring people to Islam." And I said, man, I had given up, And then I remember this. Didn't nobody tell you to stop doing hip hop? Didn't nobody tell you to stop? And I said, you know what? Where would I be if I had kept going? Yeah. And I say that all to say this. You don't have to, and I'm talking directly to your audience, you don't have to change who you are.
Beautiful, brother.
If you are an entertainer, if you are a chef, if you are an ice skater, if you are a candlestick maker, bring that talent to the nation.
Glad you said that. Glad you said that. Bring that
talent with you. So I was a DJ, and I had stopped that.
Glad you said that.
I say this in closing to that thought. A nation needs everything.
I'm glad you said that, brother. And that what you said is so profound that I'm actually to read. So what you're saying is that for our brothers and sisters who are in the nation, those who may be thinking about joining the nation, that if they have a talent in the art, right, that they don't have to forsake it just to be in the nation. Because some people will say, well, Minister Farrakhan gave up his music and et cetera, and et cetera. But I heard down Minister Louis Farrakhan say, he said that was the messenger in Allah's trial for me. I don't mean that that's for you to do. You know what I'm saying? So I think that is so important, man, because like what you said is so key. We need all of that in the nation. It's not like we don't listen to music. Right. It's not like we don't watch movies. Like now, no, you take it and see how you can help to enhance our nation. As we just talked about, like we need someone like we got the Final Call Radio that has the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan lectures. But why don't we have an app where we can listen to the great artists that we have in our nation as well? Now, of course, The music needs to be of good quality. Now we just can't say we got a sound clip by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to be talking about it's fire. No, that don't make it fire. You got to make sure that you're with it.
And that's the whole reason why we exist in the network. We bounce music off of each other and say, yo, is this hot? You just listen. Nah, take that back to the lab, you know, because we have to be able to compete with everybody else.
Tag me into that group, man, because I think we definitely need to see that. We have too many talented people. And when the minister said the Ministry of Arts and Culture, a lot of times when we hear the word ministry, people just think that means getting on the rostrum and just speaking. No, it's a service. And my last, because you're in hip hop, I gotta ask you this question. If you had to name, you list your top 5 hip hop lyricists, who would be your top 5?
I should have known this was coming. Top 5.
Yeah. And you don't have to put them in. If you can put them in order, top number 1, number 2. If not, you can just list your top 5, just your top 5.
But before I say that, let me say this. The biggest error people always make when making this list, people only do from their era, as opposed to all time. If you want to do a top 5 of all time, that means you got to go back to 1979.
A good point.
Forward. But most people haven't done their homework about Grandmaster Cass, about Melly Mel, about Kumo D and the Treacherous 3. So if I'm going to do all time top 5, here we go. 5. Melly Mel. You can't have hip hop without the message and Grandmaster Flash. It's foundational. So if we're not counting Grandmaster Flash in the top 5, 4, Grandmaster Cass. He actually wrote, and if you know the history, he wrote the record that became the biggest hit in hip hop record. Hip hop, hibbit to the hip hop, and you don't stop the rock. He wrote that, and those brothers came and took it from him. That's the actual historic fact.
I didn't know that.
Actual historic fact. In fact, they even say, if I'm correct, his name in one of the rhymes is one of his names, because they wrote it right off the paper. I read it off the paper as they did the record.
Wow.
Grandmaster Cavs wrote that song. I'm still having memory lapse what that record is. Rapper's Delight. Thank you. Number 3. Now this is where it's gonna get tricky, because now I got to come up to my era. Number 3 has to go to KRS-One.
Definitely.
KRS-One. And we're talking lyricists now. He revolutionized the way hip hop is delivered lyrically. His freestyle capability was unmatched in that era. Number 2, my top 5, with top 2, I'm going to say Tough. Rakim. And for anybody that's from the era knows why. Number 1, my personal greatest of all time is LL Cool J. LL is the underground hip hop rapper. He's the pop rapper. He's the embodiment of the culture. Def Jam was built on LL Cool J. And you can't talk about his contribution or talk about hip hop as a culture without his contribution to it. From I Need a Beat all the way to today with Rock the Bells Radio.
Wow. That and I had the opportunity recently to read what's our brother Rakim's autobiography. And man, when you look at the level in which he actually spends writing, his like the dude said he wrote a verse backwards. Like he wrote us from the last verse to how I go all the way up, and just his level of writing, man, just amazing, man.
Oh, see, man, this is something I can talk about all day. It really is, because under each of those five are who they influenced. When you talk about, for example, let's go back to those top two real fast. Who are the children of Rakim? Coogee Rap, Nas, Black Thought. So those are all spitters. Who are the children of LL Cool J? MC Shan. I would even go as far as to say what's your man? So-called biggest rapper in the world right now.
Who, Jay-Z?
Drake.
Oh, Drake.
These are all offspring of LL Cool J.
Wow.
So those are brothers' top five. So they can cut down the comments if they want.
See, like we got all of these. They got the sports, like they got the Undisputed. What's the one with Steven Smith and them? Straight what? What's the one with Steven Smith? The show, the sports show. I
know what you're talking about.
But man, we need it's not like we as Muslims don't have these type of discussions. You know what I'm saying? So we need these shows so we can come in and talk about hip hop, and of course we can bring in the perspective of the teachings. Like, you know, we need it to discuss movies and different things like that, because it's a part of us. So man, I thank you, my brother, for you taking the time to share with us what you shared, the stories that you shared. With that book that you have, man, don't get it out, brother. Get that book out. And once this is uploaded on YouTube, we'll have a flyer. We'll put the flyer in the beginning of it so people will know that this is yours and not our brother from Jamaica. But thank you, man. And may Allah continue to bless you.
But
thank you. Man, we're gonna do some more stuff around this whole hip hop thing, man. When the idea come to me, I have an idea. Inshallah, we'll talk maybe later today if I get a chance to call you. We'll talk and we'll rap about it. All right.
I want to tell your audience one memory I have about you.
What's that?
The first time you and I met, I don't even know if you remember this. You were in Atlanta and you were at the mosque, and you were with Brother Gilbert.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I was set up DJing in the fellowship hall. And I forget what the event was, but you were there in the city. And I said, "Oh, they from NO? I got a record they know. They're gonna respond to this record as soon as I drop it." Showboys. Dun, 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 dun. you turn like, what you know about that record?
Man, listen, that song, brother, is the foundation of bounce music in the city of New Orleans.
I knew you would know that.
You listen to me. You put that on right now, and say people be like, "Oh, you know what I'm saying?" That is the foundation. That song right there is what has given birth to bounce music, man. So inshallah, we're gonna do some things. I got your number. We'll talk. But thank you, man. Give your family the greetings, and may Allah continue to bless you.
Thank you, soldier. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. And for our guests who are here, leave your comments if you get the opportunity. You're watching this. What you gain from it, from our brother DJ Rockwell. Make sure you go and subscribe. Let me put this back up here. Make sure you go subscribe to his YouTube channel. Share those mixes that he was doing. Go ahead. What else you were gonna add?
You just said it.
Yeah. Make sure you go to his YouTube channel. Make sure you go to his Instagram. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. And inshallah, man, we'll get together. Thank you all. See us next week, inshallah, with our sister Vicky Dillard. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you.
Yes, sir.